Sound matters. Be heard. Welcome to the podcast where you get exclusive behind-the-scenes tips to make your own show sound truly spectacular. This is Podtastic Audio.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? How are you doing today? Thank you so much for listening. I am Chris of the world-famous Chris and Christine Show podcast. You can find out more about that on the old interweb at chrisandchristineshow.com. Clickety click click. Simple, easy peasy. And if this podcast does sound a little different, that is because I am coming to you live on the brand new RODECASTER Pro Part 2. This is not the original. This is the second one, the Part 2. Yeah, it does crazy things like that. Listen, this is my first time using the thing with a solo podcast like this. Christine and I did a first test run with it on Monday night. And it's funny, this thing has a built-in memory slot for a memory card. And the memory card just came in the mail yesterday. So when Christine and I did it, we just did a direct transfer our audio directly into Audacity, which the whole setup for that runs very similar to the Zoom PodTrack P4. It seems like if you want to do multi-track recording the way it probably is designed to do with these kind of devices is to do it directly on the memory card. So today, I'm going to go over some basic features of the RODECASTER Pro 2. And do you think you probably should upgrade to one if you're doing a podcast? Now, I know some of you are probably thinking, why would you upgrade to the RODECASTER Pro 2? That thing's super expensive, and your podcast sounded really good to begin with, so why would you guys need the RODECASTER? Well, first off, we were kind of pushing the limits of what you could do with a standard audio interface for the type of show that we were doing, where we're adding in elements and sound effects and having different callers come in and having multiple people in the same room, recording everybody, not just the two of us, but sometimes you have a third person or a fourth person into the room. And the audio interface kind of got it done. With the older computer, I was able to trick it to work with Windows. It was able to split up the two tracks that had 4 channels, and 2 of them were technically one interface, even though it was on one interface, but it was one, and the other 2 channels was on another interface. And with Clean Feed, I was able to do that and separate everybody and make it 4 channels that way. When I finally got the MacBook Pro, it did not let me do that. It put it all in one slot, which was fine. I guess Audacity let me do everything in one multi-track with 4 channels recording at the same time. But what I just found out, though, is that when you hit pause on the multi-track going into Audacity, at least for me anyways, and you hit record again, it would put another section of multi-track right below the track you already recorded. So it overdubs the last one, which is kind of weird. So now you have all these multi-track channels stacked up right below the last one. Maybe there's a setting in Audacity I got to flip on or something. I don't know. But for right now, today, I'm recording everything directly onto the RODECASTER. So this is going right onto the memory card. Now, like I said, our show is getting quite advanced for what we needed. And I happen to have a little extra cash after I sold my car. So I wanted to treat myself to something that I really, really wanted. And I knew that the RODECASTER 1, it's quite an amazing device. Everybody I've talked to, I said, Chris, you got to get the RODECASTER. You just got to get the RODECASTER. It would make your life so much easier. It's an amazing device. It's quite amazing. And I'm like, you know what? What if the new one comes out, And it's very possible. A new one could come out. And it did come out. The RODECASTER Pro 2 has probably been out for maybe, 4 or 5 months now. It's been out. Maybe not quite that long, but it's pretty new. And so this is the RODECASTER Pro 2. And I said, you know what? I was even talking to Christine about this. I said, hey, why don't I just get the old one? Because the old one was starting to go down in price. Because it happens with new technology. When they have the new iPhone, they always discount the old one to get you to buy the new one or the old one or whatever. So same thing with the RODECASTER. I think they shaved off $100, maybe $200 off the full price of the original Rodecaster, which is quite an amazing device. I mean, I skipped over that and got straight to the Rodecaster 2. Now, if you have a Rodecaster 1, do you need to upgrade to the Rodecaster 2? That really depends. Some of the upgraded features in the Rodecaster 2, I say like the big features really is that you can connect multiple computers, like 2 computers to this thing at the same time. What does that even mean? Well, in one example I've seen is that, say I'm playing something on my Mac, audio coming from the Mac, I can run it through the Rodecaster, push it to a PC, and then send it out like on a live stream. Something like that you can do with this thing. The preamps are very good. The settings on the thing is very good. The thing's very user-friendly. Rode really has thought of everything. It's not really what this thing can do. It's what it can't do, which is probably not much. Anything audio-related. If you want to record a band with multiple, up to like 4, there's 4 combo jacks on the back of this thing. So you can do microphones or you can do like plug an instrument in. You can record everything that way. It's great for that stuff. It's great, obviously, for a podcast. If 4 people are sitting around, you can have somebody coming in on a phone via Bluetooth. You can have somebody coming in on a computer via like Skype or something or Zoom or whatever. You can have that all recorded. Multi-track recording, great. I think it's like 9 fader channels, and there's like 16 multi-track if you include the stereo mixes and things like that. It's super nerdy and super technical. You're probably not going to use any of that stuff. But here I got the Rodecaster up and running, and here are some of the basic sound pad features, because it does have a sound pad on it. They call it a super pad or smart pad, or whatever they call it. It can do a lot of different features, but like I'm playing music on this thing, I can turn it up or I can turn it down. With a little fader. Each thing has its own fader on here. And I think it sounds really good. The audio quality, at least in my headphones when I'm playing this stuff, sounds very, very good. Way better than the other system I was using. That's quite an improvement. Turn that off. The ever annoying air horn. They got that on here, and then crickets, I guess. This is always fancy, and then the joke one, and of course I thought they had an applause. Where's the applause at? Oh, there it is. Here's the applause. Well, thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate this. Thank you. Thank you. But one of the cool features of the Rodecaster, I think this one has, that the other one does not have, is this voice changer. Let's see if I can mess with that. So let's see what this sounds like.
On the Rodecaster with these sound effects mixed in. It's quite a trip, you think about it. This is so weird. Wow. Yeah. Okay, enough of that.
And you can do this one if you like. This is interesting. It sounds like a mouse. I don't know. But what's weird is that it happens in real time in my headphones. So as I talk, I hear this, which is weird.
And this one is like, hey, attention shoppers, we have a sale on new RODECASTER Pros. Pick one up today.
And this sounds like a robot. If you want to be a robot voice, you can do this. It's up to you what you want to do. And this is another robot. This sounds like more like this would be like the Rodecaster 1 robot. And this would be like the Rodecaster 2 robot. And let's see what else. That's basically it. How to get off this thing.
Okay, now we're back. Okay, sorry about all that, playing with this stuff like this. So that's kind of the fun things you can do with the Rodecaster. It does a lot of different things. It's got, like I said, the preamps have 76 dB of gain, which without injecting any kind of noise into the signal, which they recommend they say you can play with any microphone. You can plug it right into this thing, whether it's a SM7B. I'm using the Rode Pod Mic, which is tailor-tuned for this podcast gear. In fact, there's a Rodecaster Pod Mic, like a Rode Pod Mic button right on the thing. And it's tailor-made for the Rodecaster. That's kind of what I'm doing right now. It's all running through the Rodecaster. So, it's quite amazing. Now, the basic functionality of this thing, like the basic features, really, you could do with a Zoom PodTrack P4. And the Zoom PodTrack runs for about $150. It's on sale right now. So this thing is $700. The PodTrack P4 is $150. Now you could buy a PodTrack P4, like 3 of these microphones and 3 boom arms with gear, with headphones and a memory card, and still be cheaper than this RODECASTER. And you can get it going right away. In fact, if I was starting out with a podcast today and I had a very small budget and I didn't know which direction I wanted to go, how to do it, I would recommend getting the Zoom PodTrack P4 because you can do quite a bit of stuff with that thing. And you pretty much can do all the major things you can kind of do here. Like if you wanted to have a computer sound, a computer audio coming into the PodTrack P4 with guests, with a phone, you can do all that stuff. You can do sound pads just like this. You can do sound pads on that. You cannot do any sound effects like the different voice changing thing. You can't do that stuff at all. So that is only like exclusively for this new console, probably because it has this new super duper processor built into the thing. So now if you're doing a solo show where it's just you and you absolutely know for certain you're never, ever going to have another person on your show in the same room with you, like ever, then you don't need anything like this. This is for like I said, our show, there's so many different facets to the show to where it's just me recording. Like today, I may have Christine and I do a show together. That's 2 microphones. We have a third person in the same room. That's 3. We do obviously do all our interviews coming in here. We do sound effects live. We do stuff live all the time. We try to do everything we can without the need of a RODECASTER. And I think the tools like CleanFeed Pro really has helped out with a lot of that stuff. But I was like, you know what? For me, it's also like the microphones. I did notice like on the previous gear I was using, which was the Behringer 404 setup, I started hearing some crackling sounds, like some weird crackle sounds in the audio sounds. Like, I don't know if it's the system, if it's the wire. Maybe it's my phone was getting alerts near it, and maybe it was causing it to like do its thing where it was kind of crackling or something. Like I would hear that stuff as that started to get annoying. Sometimes every once in a while, you'll hear like this, like kind of this like weird crackly, buzzy, staticky sound every once in a while. And I didn't know if it was the computer or if it was the phone or if it was the Behringer. Like I was kind of like, well, and then one day it would work, and then one day you would hear it, and one day it would work. And I was like, well, I don't know, try to troubleshoot and see what the problem is, but it could be a number of things you don't know. So like I said, it has a little extra cash. I wanted to treat myself, so I went to the big dog, the RODECASTER Pro 2. And so far, so good. I think I'm hearing it very clearly. As I hear it in my headphones live in real time, it does sound pretty good. I'm not hearing any background noise. I'm not hearing anything like that. The air conditioning kicked out, and it's outside this room here. I'm not really hearing it. It's very It's got a noise gate, which is quite amazing. It's got Aphex processor or something. It's got all kinds of revolutionary preamps, they call it. I mean, for audio, like capturing the audio is what you really want to do, is capture very clean audio at the source. This does a very good job of doing that. Like you can probably mix a lot of stuff out and do a lot of mixing and stuff on the back end, which is what I usually do anyways. But if this can save you time because it already like makes the audio sound great at the start, that way you don't have to do a lot of editing on the back end. It makes your life simpler. And this is all about making things quick, easy, simple. Okay, and another thing I want to talk about today is something I can't believe I mentioned this before in the past. I'm thinking like I thought I had. I probably mentioned it in the conversation, maybe a guest or something, and that is AudioGrams, or in some cases videograms, but today we're only going to talk about AudioGrams. Now, what is an audiogram? Maybe you've seen them. Well, basically what an audiogram really is, it's like a clip of your show, maybe 1 minute or so. Let's say the 1 minute mark. Let's round it off. Say 1 minute long, like video of your, like an image of some sort, and the audio is playing from your podcast, and it has these little wiggly lines or wave lines usually throughout, or a circle wave lines, or however you want to design it. There's a few different apps that create these things for you. Now, the AudioGrams, people either love them or they hate them. Personally, I love them. I think they're great, and I'll tell you why that I love them, and I'll tell you why people don't like them very much. So I think the reason why people aren't really fans of the AudioGrams is because studies have proven that the return on investment to get the listener to listen to your actual podcast by first sampling a audiogram they find on social media. The conversion rate is very, very low. It's not a one-to-one, because we put out audiograms on our social media all the time. We get a lots of plays on the audiogram, but we don't get as many. The same number doesn't translate to the actual like plays on the podcast itself. So why do the audiogram in the first place if it's not getting people to listen to your podcast? That's what all the complaints are coming about, because they say, listen, I got to do all this work to create an audiogram, and truthfully, you don't have to do a lot of work to do an audiogram. It takes me 5 to 10 minutes to make an audiogram, maybe 20 minutes if I'm busy doing other things at the same time to create an audiogram. With audiogram, basically what you want to do is, I have a couple apps. I have the Headliner app and I have the Pod Buddy app. They both do the same thing, just a little differently. Now, so starting with the Headliner app is that it does, you can create an audiogram for different lengths of time. Like, say, it already knows that with Twitter, I think it's 2 minutes, 20 seconds is the max for a video on the Twitter. So it already creates the audiogram adjusted for that if you want to do that. But you always can trim it however you want. So this is what I always do. So what you want to do is open your podcast, you load it into the Headliner app, you find your show, you find the episode you want to play from, and then you find the section of the show that you actually want to do the audiogram of. I would try to aim for right around a minute or so. If it's something, you can go to 10 seconds or 5 seconds if you really want to on a really quick audiogram. I've done that too. Really long ones can get kind of boring if it's really not that interesting. But essentially what you want to do with an audiogram is you want to kind of promote your show with it, but by playing a very important part of your show in the audiogram itself. So, for example, say your show is an hour long. Say it's a 30-minute show, right? And you want to grab a 1-minute audiogram of your 30-minute show. I would scrub through your 30-minute episode, try to find the most important part of the show, like the best part of the show. You're like, why are we giving the best part? The very best part of the show that you can think of, the best thing that was said, the most important statement of the entire episode. If only one thing to get out of the entire show is this one statement or 1 minute of audio, grab that. Use that as the audiogram. And you're thinking, hey, Chris, why would I have them do that? Wouldn't I want them to listen to the full episode anyways? Why would I give the best stuff away in the audiogram that I'm going to post on social media? Well, like I said earlier, the number of people that are going to push play on an audiogram are way bigger than the number of people that are going to press play on your physical podcast. It's the conversion rate. It doesn't really happen the same, you know? So on social media, when you're scrolling through social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter especially, and you see an audiogram come across you and it says something cool like the headline of the post has to be somewhat engaging also. But the combination of the cool headline of the post, the cool looking graphics of the audiogram, it's easier for someone to push play on that when it's sitting right in front of them. They press play and they can listen to the audiogram, because the audiogram usually isn't very long. Maybe 30 seconds, maybe a minute and a half, maybe up to 2 minutes. And you can always stop the audiogram. And you're not like in it for the long haul, because if you push play on an audiogram and it's like 20 seconds in and you're bored to death, just swipe up with your thumb and go to the next thing on your feed or whatever. You don't have to listen to the whole thing. So it's much easier to listen to an audiogram versus subscribing and listen to a full episode of a podcast. And that's probably why audiograms are so popular and they get a lot of plays on them versus the actual show itself. But I know there's not a big conversion rate. So what? Who cares? What you're trying to do with an audiogram, at least the way I see it, is I know that not everybody that listens to the audiogram is going to be a subscriber to the show and actually listen to the full show. I know that. I already know that. But what the audiogram is going to do is that it's going to get people that may not listen to the entire episode actually take a sample of your show, and it puts them on the forefront of maybe someday they might actually will subscribe to your show. But what it's going to do is it's going to say, like, say your show is about something, I don't know, important or whatever, and you have a particular message you want to get across. Like I've done that for this show, of course, different things, like the point of the show, like the meats and potatoes, really the heart of that particular episode. You put that in a tiny audiogram. So basically think about the most important message of the entire episode. You trim that little audiogram part of it out. You put that in a 1-minute package on social media. So they see you as an expert in a small package. So somebody in the future, they may want to actually subscribe to your show. But if the entire show, say you're talking about, I don't know, the RODECASTER Pro 2. So maybe you want to talk about, put an audiogram out of the RODECASTER Pro 2. Maybe put that part as part of the audiogram to get people curious to listen to the show. Now, I said the conversion rate's not the greatest, but we do have a lot of people who do listen to audiograms. And I know that based on them listening to the audiogram, that they do interact with us. They do write us on social media. They do. And the audiogram can be literally its own mini episode within the episode. Like you have the grand episode, the major episode, and then this little section of the episode could be the audiogram. Now, like I said, the two apps I use are the Headliner app and the Pod Buddy app. They basically do the same thing. They're both free. Both of them have a paid version. Now, if you don't want to do the apps, a very simple way you can create your own audiogram, which I've done this too, is you can do a screen record of the podcast player, whether it's Spotify, Apple, it doesn't matter, wherever the podcast is physically playing on your phone. I know iPhone, you swipe down, you can do the screen recording. It'll record the screen and it'll record the audio because they're recording it like a video. It'll say it like a video. From there, you can still trim it. You can trim the size of it. You can trim the length of it. And you can post that on social media as a quick little audiogram. I've done that before too. That actually works well if you're trying to grab an audiogram of somebody else's show. I found that works very well when you can like play the episode, screenshot or screen record the section you want to play with. You can edit it in your phone photos under the video photo editor thing that's built into the iPhone. Save that, post that, and that becomes its own little audiogram also. There's lots of different ways you can create an audiogram for your show. I love doing them. I try to create one if I can. They take a little time. Sometimes I forget to make one. I like doing it, and what I do with the Chris and Christine show, when you create our audiogram, obviously if it's a guest, I will tag them in the post. I will put our website link in the post, and then I will pin that to the top of our feed. So it's always there all week long. So somebody discovers our show through Twitter or something, the first thing they're going to see is that audiogram. So if they push play on the audiogram because it's sitting at the very top of the page, then they will experience the show in a small form. And if they decide to keep it, I like it, they want to play it, they can subscribe. If not, then they can move on. Very simple. It's a taste. It's like when you go somewhere and they give you little samples of the frozen yogurt before you buy the real yogurt. They give you little samples of that, or at the Baskin Robbins, they'll give you the spoon of the flavor before you decide to buy the pint of ice cream. Like, I want to try that flavor. It's a sample. So it's like a sample of your episode. It's a sample of your show to give everybody an idea what it could sound like and if they enjoy doing it. Because I've heard some really bad audiograms in my day. Where I'm like thinking, is this the best you guys have? Because you want to put your best forward. Like your audiogram has got to be the best of the best. Whatever your best thing you're saying, your best audio, whatever you got, it's got to be the best thing for the audiogram. Think of the audiogram as like your one shot to get a new person to push play on your show. And if they hear your audiogram, and it sounds like three dudes in a basement with a Blue Yeti in the center of a room, drinking beer and laughing from 5 feet away. I mean, that's what the audiogram sounds like. I'm like, no thanks. But you might like it. It might be your show. Your show is your show. You can do your show however you want to do your show. And one tip I have to say about today, because somebody asked me this yesterday, I would say that if you ever get one tip with podcasting, I would say is try to get every person talking on a separate audio track and on a separate microphone. If you can get everybody on separate audio tracks, everybody talking, whether it's you, your Zoom guy, your Squadcast person, your whatever, your different person in the room, if every person can be on their own individual audio track, then and only then is when you can really fine tune each person's audio and make everybody sound like we're all hanging out in the same room. Make the levels sound great. Make everything sound great, and then you can make it sound fantastic. Well, you know what? This has been fantastic. Speaking of which, as I look at the clock, I got to start getting ready to go to work. I'm like, I feel how late it was already. And this is coming to you once again on the brand new RODECASTER Pro 2 getting recorded directly into the RODECASTER, coming to you on the Rode Pod mic. And I have a MacBook computer and blah, 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 whatever. So until next time, you keep on making fantastic audio with your amazing podcast, and I'll catch you next week.